Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming back for this part of the presentation. And we are really looking forward to our next two speakers. The first of which is Ms. Shiloh Zeller, and it is my pleasure to introduce her. Shiloh is the manager of the Love Your Brain Mindset program and community outreach. She manages their program operations, communications, and facilitation. Shiloh's background in neuroscience and personal experience with brain injury has made her work with Love Your Brain deeply rewarding and educational. And we are honored to have her with us here today to present on yoga and brain injury. Welcome, Shiloh.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. Really appreciate it. So as Rachel mentioned, my name is Shiloh and my pronouns are she, her. I'm located in Alberta, Canada, and I'm really excited to be able to offer this little presentation. It's been a long time in the making, and I know Michelle and Rachel have worked really hard to get all of this ready. So thank you both so much for all your work. And today I'll be talking to all of you a little bit about yoga and meditation for TBI, and I'll share some of the programs we have to offer, and then more than happy to answer any questions that might come up. So I'm going to share my screen, and Rachel or Michelle, if you'd be able to just switch the sharing options. All right. So hopefully everyone can see my screen here okay. So again, just so everyone has a little bit of a background, you know, when we think of yoga and meditation, it may just be one side of everything that, you know, we think of the physical movement, maybe more of the practice. And so hopefully after this presentation, you'll have a little bit more understanding of just how many different components there are to yoga. And then we'll dive specifically into how this works for the TBI population. And then again, just a little bit more about our programs in general. So to get started, I feel like it'll be a good place to start from actually doing some sort of a practice. So I invite everyone to just find a nice, comfortable seat. Take whatever movements you need to get there, just really settling into your body. You can shift around in your seat a little bit and just take the next few moments to transition from whatever you were just doing into our time together. You can start by sitting in a way that brings steadiness to your body. You may place both feet on the floor, find some length in your spine, and rest your hands on your legs. And if you'd like, you can close your eyes or find a soft gaze, just giving your eyes a little bit of a break from the screen. From here, take a nice full breath in and a full breath out. And begin to notice your body breathing in a pace that's just right for you. You can feel your chest gently expand and soften in synchrony with your breath. Feel the pulse of your breath gently moving in and out. And notice your arms, heavy and at ease by your sides. Notice any sensations in your shoulders, elbows, and palms. As best as you can, relax your arms 5% more. Feel your legs, the steady connection of your legs resting on the surface beneath you, perhaps your seat on the chair or your feet on the floor. Notice how your legs feel from the inside out. With kind attention, notice the state of your mind. Does it feel focused and at ease, or perhaps distracted and tired? Welcome whatever is most present for you as we all acknowledge where we're starting from today. Take a slow breath in and a slow breath out. Finally, cross your hands over your elbows and give your arms a gentle massage, slowly moving up towards your shoulders. You can slide your hands to rest one on top of the other over your heart. and feel into this caring place and welcome whatever it may be holding right now. Feel how each of us is not alone despite the physical distance between us. And how we are all showing up here for each other from a place of care. Take a slow breath in and a slow breath out. You can check in with your whole body, mind, and heart. And think of one word that describes how you're feeling right now. When you're ready, you can release your hands. Feel free to blink your eyes open and just take a second before coming back to the screen. And just holding on to that word that came to mind for you during that meditation. So hopefully that gives everyone a little bit of a sense of how meditation can be achieved. You know, it's not something that has to be really long and involved with sitting on the ground and closing your eyes and trying to just focus on your breath and not letting it wander. There's a bunch of different ways that you can incorporate meditation and mindfulness into your day-to-day life, and we can dive a little bit more into that in a few slides here. But to give everyone a little bit more of a background as to who I am and the work that we do at Love Your Brain, it all started with a documentary called The Crash Reel. And The Crash Reel chronicles the life of pro snowboarder Kevin Pierce, both before and after his traumatic brain injury. So at the time, Kevin was training for the 2010 Winter Olympics out in Vancouver. He was training at Park City, Utah, and sustained a TBI. And it just so happened that his brother Adam, was able to film a lot of different points of view before the accident and then everything that came afterwards. And at the time, his brother Adam quit his full-time job and was really dedicated to helping Kevin through that rehabilitation process. And it was during that time that they noticed there was a gap between Kevin being able to leave the hospital and then fully getting reintegrated back into the community. And so that's where the Love Your Brain Foundation was born. And a lot of the work we do is creating community and resilience for those that have been affected by TBI. And throughout Kevin's rehabilitation, he, was a pro athlete and had a lot of that drive still, but was a little more limited in what he could do, and found that yoga and meditation was a really great way for him to stay active and also just be able to work through this new normal that he had to get used to. So that's where the Love Your Brain Yoga program, which was our very first program we ever had, that's where all of that came from. So you might be wondering why yoga. So, especially in this day and age, this might be a little bit more of how we're feeling. There's a little bit of brain fog and fatigue. With everything happening in the world, it can feel really overwhelming. And so yoga isn't something that we chose randomly. It's a research-backed practice. And today I'll be able to go into a little bit more of the impact that this can have. So hopefully we can all achieve just a little bit more of a calmer state. So what is yoga? There's, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times when we think of yoga, we think of a physical practice of going to a yoga studio and taking a class, but there's actually 8 limbs of yoga. And so there's components such as your moral observations, and in yoga speak, or in Sanskrit, this is your yamas and niyamas. The physical movement is the asana. There's breathing exercises, so a little bit of what we just did, and that's called pranayama. Meditation is referred to as pratyahara, and then that all contributes to your complete well-being, or your samadhi. And so the whole deal with yoga is that it's a really great way for mind and body integration. So again, there's all kinds of different yoga programs out there for different types of demographics or different practices. You can have a power vinyasa flow, and that's a really intense practice. There's hot yoga studios. There's trauma-informed yoga, yoga for Parkinson's, yoga for MS. So there's all kinds of different things. And at Love Your Brain, we noticed there wasn't really anything geared towards the traumatic brain injury community. So we didn't have to reinvent the wheel, but just had to rework some of the logistics. But the basis of that mind and body integration was always there. And so to really get a sense of what I mean by this, we'll just do another little practice together. So looking from mind to body. So just like we started for that meditation, feel free to find a nice comfortable seat. Again, take whatever movements you need to, shift around in your chair. And this will be a visualization exercise. So if you do have any struggles with visualizing, you can always just look at the screen as well, and that will that will help. So when you found a nice comfortable seat, you can go ahead and close your eyes if you would like. Just take a moment to find your breath. Find a pace that's right for you. And imagine you're standing in your kitchen. And when you look over on the counter, you see a bowl of lemons. You can maybe see the sunlight reflecting off the yellow skin. And from here, imagine going over to that bowl of lemons and grabbing one in your hand. And as you run your hand over the lemon, you can feel how smooth it is. Maybe there's a few bumps and irregularities. Just imagining how that lemon feels in your hand. And with a nice big inhale, bring that lemon up to your nose. Imagine you can smell that really citrusy scent. With your next movement, imagine taking a bite out of the lemon, just like it's an apple. You can feel the juice running down your hands, down your mouth, biting right through the skin of the lemon. Placing the lemon back down in the bowl. We'll take one last deep breath together. A nice big inhale. And exhale. And again, you can blink your eyes open if you have them closed. And just take a moment to reflect on if you had anything come up for you during that exercise. So for myself, even though I know what's coming next and I'm prepared for everything, I feel that every time I imagine biting into a lemon like it's an apple, I can feel my mouth really start to pucker. Sometimes I'll salivate a little bit more. So even just imagining doing something, I get a really physiological response in my body. And so that is the connection of your mind to your body. And now we'll go the opposite way of body to mind. So for this exercise, just imagine what it's like to sit with confidence. So for me, instantly my shoulders push back, my chest puffs out. I can feel my chin sitting a little bit higher. If I'm feeling confident, I feel really strong. There's a lot of strength in my body. There's sturdiness, my spine straightens. Feels good. And if I take a moment to think of how that feels to me, I feel confident. I feel strong and like I know what I'm doing. I'm supposed to be here. But then if I sit with fear, I instantly want to shrug forward. And so I can feel that my stomach sucks in, my shoulders fall a little bit. I can feel a little bit more tension across my chest. I don't know for sure, but it feels like my heart's racing a little bit more. And I can feel that lower energy level right away. And then if I think of how to sit with anger, so again, I straighten up a little bit more. It's almost like a blend of the first two emotions. So my shoulders push back, but my arms want to cross. And there's a lot more tension across my shoulders and in my neck, down my back even a little bit. I can feel a little more closed off to everyone. And we don't want to stay angry forever. So then thinking of what it's like to have joy. So instantly I relax, my arms fall to my side. I can't help but smile every time I think of this one. It's hard in a webinar setting. I can't make eye contact with anyone else, but just thinking of how joy feels, there's a certain lightness to it. And so that's a really good example of body to mind. So even though we may not be confident or fearful or full of anger, you can still feel those emotions starting to bubble up just from how you're sitting. So this is how yoga is really different and kind of in its own wheelhouse, really, with the mind and body integration. So diving into a little bit more of the benefits of yoga and meditation, especially for the TBI community. So there's been a small but growing body of research that's recently come out. And this is something that Love Your Brain has been trying to contribute to, and in general are always just looking for what's out there and who's doing what and trying to stay on top of the research as we can. So a brief little snapshot of some of these things. So for example, there was a study done in 2015 that showed that there's an improvement in attention skills by increasing the thickness of the prefrontal cortex. And this is associated with focus and decision making. So your prefrontal cortex sits right at the very front of your head here. There's also been evidence that has shown an improvement in memory by changing brain structures associated with memory, and this includes your hippocampus. So the easiest way to think of this is if you take your two fists and put them together, it's about the size of your brain. If you take away one fist, just this little inner part here is where your hippocampus sits. And so I find this really interesting because we're able to change a structure that's really deep within our brain from an external physical practice. Our own research has shown that there's also been an enhancement in self-esteem as well as in community integration. And another study showed a reduction in mental fatigue by supporting better information processing. So again, just that mindfulness practice can help you slow down a little bit, take in more, work through it, and then process. There's been a reduction of stress by shrinking the amygdala, which is our fear and response center. And again, if you take your two fists, your little brain, and take away the one, this is where your hippocampus sits, and your amygdala is located really close to your hippocampus as well. And then lastly, with yoga being a physical practice, there has been evidence that has shown a boost in strength, balance, endurance, and flexibility. So a little bit more about our program specifically. So we have our Love Your Brain retreat, and this is a 5-day deep immersion program. So this is an opportunity for individuals to do 5 days of, we have yoga practices and art therapy, music therapy, all kinds of different things, as well as learning more about the nutrition behind brain health. There's a chef there that makes a lot of really delicious dinners and then talks about what each component is doing for your brain. And we also have our Love Your Brain Yoga program, which is in local community, like in our partner yoga studios, as well as in hospitals. Because of COVID, all of this was paused for the last little bit, and we have still paused our programs in Canada. And then the Love Your Brain Mindset, which is our fully virtual Zoom program. And all of these programs are evidence-based, they're accessible, and they're community-driven. So just to try to differentiate between everything, our Love Your Brain Yoga program is a free research-backed 6-week program, and it's 90-minute classes. And you can see here just that breakdown of what the 90 minutes entails. So there's a 10-minute breathing exercise, there's 45 minutes of gentle yoga, a 15-minute guided meditation, and then 20-minute discussion for building community connections. And this is a snapshot of all of the locations where we do have a partnership. So you can see we're slowly making our way through Canada. So we do have some affiliates in Ontario. We haven't quite moved up to the West Coast yet. And then there's also a snapshot of some of our clinical affiliates. So these are rehabilitation hospitals throughout the US and Canada, where yoga interventions are introduced early post-injury. And thought I would just include a little snapshot of what the sign-up pages look like on our website. So this one is for our partner studio out in Calgary, Alberta. It hasn't officially launched, so that's why it's not on our map. But essentially it will look like this. There'll be a little sign-up button and then all of the information that would be needed. And the programs are for those that have experienced TBI or a caregiver of someone with TBI. And this is just our area of expertise, where we ask that you're able to move without assistance and no wheelchair or cane. And the biggest reason for this, especially in our online program, is just guaranteeing student safety. So with home practices, sometimes it's really difficult to see everyone on the screen and be able to know for sure how we can cue someone to move from a wheelchair onto the ground. And then also with our in-person programs, we do have an assistant teacher that's present for all of the classes, but again, they may not be trained in properly moving someone from wheelchair to ground and vice versa. So just want to make sure we're protecting both our teachers as well as our students. Ask that you're open to participating in a group discussion, and this can include active listening, able to follow instructions and regulate intense emotions, and can commit to attending all 6 classes, with that first class being mandatory. We just find it really creates that sense of trust and community connection from the very beginning. And we welcome people with persistent post-concussion symptoms, mild to moderate TBI, and severe TBI as well. And given all of this little eligibility criteria, I think the biggest thing that I always like to mention is that there is a human on the other end of the application. So if someone signs up for our program, it's very likely that myself or a colleague are reading through each application and we're always able to make exceptions. So I'd encourage anyone to sign up for any of our programs, and we would love to have a conversation to make sure it's the right fit or find something that works really well for you. So then how can yoga be TBI centered? So I always include this little comic because yoga can feel like a really overwhelming practice. You know, you're in a room surrounded by mirrors, and sometimes, you know, it happens to all of us. You'll be doing a pose and you're facing one way and everyone else is facing the other way, and you're not really sure where you went wrong. And so we can adapt specific poses that prevent dizziness and headaches. So that's keeping the head above the heart. So no inverted, no downward dog, no headstands, anything like that. Can offer a simple, slow, and repeated instruction to minimize cognitive fatigue. Offer similar movements in a similar sequence for learning and memory. That includes soft lighting and no music, so just keeping those symptoms at bay. And strategies to focus attention and manage negative thoughts. And then the group discussion really helps to build community and resilience. So then diving a little bit more into some of the research about yoga and meditation for TBI. So there was a study done for individuals, and it was conducted by one of our team members, looking at the feasibility and impact of a yoga program on the quality of life of adults with an acquired brain injury. And the biggest takeaway from this study was an 8-week program felt like too long. So 8 weeks was a lot to commit to, and it's hard to predict where you're going to be in 8 weeks. And then on top of that, a lot of participants in that study shared that their favorite part of going to the class was when the class was over and they had a chance to visit with other people that understood what they were going through. So that was the reason for incorporating group discussions into programs, just to create that community and create that sense of trust where you know someone is going through something very similar to you. And then there's another study that we did that looks at the how the psychoeducation interventions can help community integration for people with TBI. So this also looked at caregivers as well, and it was the first of its kind to also study the effects on caregivers. And then we did another test on the acceptability, feasibility, and effectiveness of Love Your Brain Yoga for people with TBI and caregivers. So we had a qualitative and a quantitative study. So looked at quality of life measures. And then in the qualitative one, started to pull out which themes were really consistent throughout all of the responses. And then most recently produced a study that looks at the best ways to deliver community-based programs, so especially yoga, to those with TBI in the United States and Canada. So this one involved 175 of our yoga teachers, and we were able to summarize the best practices, so the best modifications, if no lighting was better than some lighting, if there was no music, all of those different components. And then just a snapshot, I won't get into the nitty gritty of the data here, but just some of the improvements included, there was an improvement in resilience, cognition, and positive affect, and no improvement on the emotional or behavioral dysregulation scale. So I'm just going to skip ahead a couple of slides here. So I'll briefly talk about the Love Your Brain mindset, and that's the program that I manage. And this is a free online mindfulness and education-based program. And so there's 2 different ways you can go about it. You can choose a 45-minute group discussion or a 75-minute group yoga class. And each week there are different, there's an email that comes out with different tools. There's an educational video, a meditation, a yoga practice, and then yoga nidra practice. And yoga nidra is a 20 to 25 minute meditation that mimics the same brain waves that you have before you sleep. So it's a really great way to maybe sneak in a nap when you don't quite have the time for an actual nap. And then just going to show one video before we start to wrap everything up here. So just to share a little bit more about our why, and this is a testimony from a participant in one of our programs in New Hampshire. So I've adjusted the sound on my end, but just a little call out, you might want to turn down your volume and then find the right volume for yourself.
I had 4 major head injuries, actually, and the first one was when I was about 11 or 12 years old. So I've not been sure about what's been going on with my body for a very long time, and it starts just gets more and more painful, and doctors and medicines, and I tried everything. So for you guys to start this kind of a program where it's not just yoga, which is helpful, it's modified. Looking at the website and entertaining the idea, could I do this, was so nice to see. The lighting could be adjusted, the music or no music, that it was adaptable. You know, I hadn't had a lot of control over a lot of things in my life, and this idea of yoga seemed to be something that where I could gain a little bit of control. I signed up because I was in so much pain and the depression sets in, and I was stuck on the couch being in pain every day, and I needed to try something. The pain might not get better, you know, I might not be able to fix this, but I can learn other ways to not get so angry at it, or to be a better version of me, live with it and coexist. I sort of laugh at myself now because the idea of your breath, so easy and simple, and it really works. You know, I can track the pain, I can go to an area and try and get my version of centered and breathe to that area, and I notice a difference. In learning to move my body and be in my body, I'm also wading through some darkness and emotions and wreckage that I've caused. And it's not an easy journey, but it sure is worth it. You know, I can never figure out why I survived the accident. I had so much anger, and there's just all this damage, physically and otherwise. And the reason is to help the next person that's on the couch with a horrible headache, and there's no way out. And it feels that way. It feels so trapping. And you've tried every pill and every doctor and everything, and nobody has an answer for you. And you guys had an answer, and it was so simple. Just breathe. Be with us, sit in a room together, and do what you feel you're capable of. There's no way to do this journey alone. So if it has to be hummingbirds and dragonflies, and then it gets to be a dog, maybe a plant, you keep those alive, and then you work forward to repairing and making new human relationships. And that's the scariest part for me, I think, is I've lost a lot of people and a lot of myself, and I don't want to lose anymore. But this community offers me a safe place to try if I want, to be a part of something and to have people understand me for just being me. You meet people at wherever, a lunch or anything, and the first questions are always, what do you do and how are you? I hate those questions. I don't have good answers. But when you walk into a room full of people that know exactly the way you feel and you don't have to say a word, I have answers for those people. And I have hugs and I have time. And I thank you guys so much for giving so much time and of yourselves to give people like me stuck on the couch in pain with no other answer somewhere to show up and feel worthy and important and change things.
All right. Well, that feels like a pretty good place to end. I thought I cut too much for my presentation and was worried I wasn't gonna have time, but I think we're at time. So yeah, Rachel, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that might have popped up.
Great. Well, Shiloh, again, thank you so much. As someone, I try to practice yoga and meditation as much as possible, and I definitely related to what you were talking about, and I'm sure a lot of our attendees today did as well. So one question we got was, how do you recommend we or individuals train their brain to be focused or be in the moment when we are taking on a yoga or a meditation?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I may not be the best person to ask because I do struggle with this even right now. And I'm a registered yoga teacher, so maybe I shouldn't be admitting that. I think the most important thing, though, is to just be really easy on yourself. You know, when we think of meditation, we tend to think of like, I have to sit on the ground with my legs crossed and, you know, oming until I feel at peace. And, you know, maybe one day you'll get there. But it's really important to just find what works for you. And so there's an individual in our community that does mindfulness walks. And I love that. So next time you're out for a walk, just see if you can recognize a new sound or spot something new. You might be on your same old walking route, but maybe there's a new house that has something that you haven't noticed before. And even that is being mindful and finding that little bit of calm and meditation. there was another individual from our community that also shared every time they pass through a certain doorway in their house, that's like a reminder to just take a moment. And so I really like that. I do it with my office door sometimes, of like when I walk through it, it's just like pause, check in with myself. Where's my breath at? Where's tension in my body? Do I need to roll my shoulders back because I've been texting all day and typing? So just finding those little moments, and then eventually you might try a 1-minute meditation, and then slowly can work your way up from there.
Oh, great. No, I think that's excellent advice. Someone has asked if you have references for the studies cited that weren't done by Love Your Brain. If you're open to sharing those with us when we make these recordings live, we could include those.
Yeah, definitely. I do have, we have a research page on our website where we include all of the citations for these studies.
Oh, great. We'll use that link when we share the recording.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I think we've got time for one more question. What advice do you have for people who, when they're in yoga or in meditation, they're there 100%, but they struggle to do it on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's very similar to my answer for meditation. And I think one of the most important things is how important and how impactful just visualizing can be. And so, if you know that you can't make the time for that yoga class, whether that's because you have to travel to a studio or it's a lot to try to sign into a live one or find one online, even just visualizing certain movements will still create those brain pathways. I mean, we've all kind of touched on a little bit of neuroplasticity in some way, and just the importance of visualization. So it's one of those things that, again, maybe it's just a quick stretch in the morning, quick stretch, trying to get your socks on, take an extra second to, stretch out something that's a little bit tense or anything like that. And so for anyone that's trying to get into yoga, again, just don't bite off more than you can chew. And I think that's where we make a lot of mistakes, and myself included. I have to go to an hour and 15-minute long class, and that's how I do yoga. But in fact, it can be just really simple movements here and there, just rolling your shoulders back or finding a little bit of just some different ways to stretch out your body or just find that inner calm.
I definitely, when I first started yoga, I viewed it as an exercise, and I had to do 90 minutes, and I had to do it so many times a week. And it took a long time for me to unlearn that lesson and relearn that yoga and meditation is really about the moment. And that's however many moments you can devote to it at that time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you should be answering these questions. You're nailing it like perfectly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, I love that.
Well, I've been working with you a long time and watching a lot of Love Your Brain. So just one more quick question.
Yeah.
For people who are just getting into yoga, you mentioned there's a lot of different types. How would a person choose the right yoga or meditation for them?
Yeah, I think for this one, and because of COVID and a lot of things shifting online, there's nothing wrong with just watching. Take a couple minutes, watch through a practice. You don't have to watch the full class, but skip ahead to a couple parts, see if it's something you like. It sounds really weird if you're not into it, but sometimes you just don't like the voice of the instructor, and that's okay. You got to find what's going to make you want to practice. And so again, it's just that being gentle with yourself, taking your time, try a bunch of different apps or YouTube. Like if you YouTube yoga, you're going to get tons of different videos. And my biggest suggestion is just, spend a week, try a different one every day, and you'll know which instructor and style you really like compared to other ones.
Oh, great. Well, Shiloh, we're out of time on the question front, but thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you all for having me.